Dobry wieczór Państwu. Ja pozwolę sobie rozpocząć odrobinę wcześniej niż to jest.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am taking the liberty to start slightly earlier than announced, but let me start on a surprise note, a brief presentation on what is now being done by the Museum of Polish History in cooperation with the Google Cultural Institute on the Google Cultural Institute as a platform. Our first exhibition actually focused on Jan Karski, and we actually were joined by 20 institutions from all around the world, us and the Auschwitz Museum, who participated in the project. And Jan Karski was actually our proposition there. And it was actually translated into 24 languages. Agata, Wacławik-Wejman and Dorota Szkodzińska, the first lady of the Google platform in Poland and the other lady of the Museum of Polish History, and the latter was also a curator of the Jan Karski exhibition. Over to the ladies. Thank you very much for this word of introduction. Several years ago, Google discovered a certain pattern which actually led us to the forming and shaping of the Institute of Culture of Google, or the Google Institute of Culture. It turned out that Google is actually capable of delivering state-of-the-art technological solutions, and it turns out that such solutions turn out to be extremely valuable to institutions of memory and archives in showing the world what kind of content can be shown, obviously under appropriate curatorship. From time to time, Google had established an ad hoc cooperation with archives and leading museums around the world. And they actually had been using the knowledge of our engineers to introduce technological solutions for purposes of a variety of presentations of materials and such like. And at a certain point in time, it turned out that it would be worth our while to take a closer look at a systemic solution which would actually allow the setup of a certain technological platform that would be made available to institutions of culture and history around the world. This is what happened in 2011. The Google Cultural Institute was established with its registered place of business in Paris, and as of the time, 500 leading historical and cultural institutions around the world started using the resources. It is with great honor and pleasure that I am telling you that our first cultural and historical partners, co-founders of resources, included the Auschwitz Museum and the Museum of Polish History. Moreover, exhibitions organized by both these institutions can also be viewed and admired on the Google Cultural Institute platform. Not to mention the Museum of Art in Łódź and the Wilanów Museum, the National Audiovisual Institute, the Adam Mickiewicz Institute, and the Eugene Forbes Foundation can also be viewed there. The Polin Museum had also joined us, which is a source of great pleasure for us. And I must say that is hugely valuable to us, also because they offer the first virtual walk around the or tour of the Museum of the History of Polish Jews. This is also something that has been made available to viewers from all around the world. This is all I would like to say from the viewpoint of Google, but since as a company we are offering technological tools with absolutely no value without the content provided by historical institutions. Nevertheless, I do believe that distribution capacity has been added. I will now hand over to Dorota Szkodzińska, who has been working for quite a few years now on the resources provided by that particular tool, and she will tell you how it actually works. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Agata told you, we have been working with the Google Institute since 2012, actually. And it seems that it is quite obvious that our internet presence is a sine qua non for cultural institutions, because it obviously allows us to be much better at delivering our mission of providing access to cultural wealth without any limitations. Nevertheless, on the other hand, the project itself, our cooperation with the Cultural Institute, was quite a challenge, I must say. Temporary exhibitions and the creation of exhibitions for museum specialists is nothing unusual. Nevertheless, providing access over the internet to excellent quality, top quality materials, providing access to permanent exhibitions was quite a challenge. Why? Well, because we did not know what to expect. A number of very interesting motives came to light. It very quickly transpired that curators did not have really a problem with providing access to exhibitions, and the tool itself was very pleasant to work with. Nevertheless, on that occasion, we discovered a number of things very interesting to us as a cultural institution. Working with the Google Institute posed challenges involving new types of responsibility in a double aspect, I must say. On the one hand, we had to work with institutions providing us with materials. Since we are a new institution, our resources are not sufficiently extensive to describe the content we are dealing with. We have been working with a variety of institutions, such as, for example, the Museum of the City of Łódź. And this was when we encountered a matter, an issue quite typical to providing content over the web, that this material shall be stolen, that it shall be misused, and that the owner will actually lose control over it. Fortunately enough, it turned out very quickly that although the initial experience was difficult, things became much easier as time went on, because cultural institutions stopped being afraid that their resources would be misused or abused. Nevertheless, I do believe that this is a hugely important component concerning the opening up of our institutions to others, which ultimately means that we are not limiting access to our resources. Another issue which transpired on the occasion of our working with the Institute was a new relation with our users. We do have websites, but when placing or posting resources to the web, we at the same time provided general access. Our users could view the resources, create their own mini exhibitions, and make them available to the general public. In other words, we had to overcome the general fear that these materials would be misused. And on the Karski occasion, we did have our own fears concerning the Warsaw Ghetto photographs. Nevertheless, the credit of trust that we gave to our users had actually been put to good use. No one did anything untoward. Another thing is that such platform as that relating to a cultural institute allows us to observe and watch and follow preferences of our users. We have to understand that user expectations changed over time, also given the broad availability of culture and the availability of different attractions online, let me put it that way. In other words, when creating exhibitions, we began wondering what it is that it is attractive to our users, how much attention can we actually draw for users to stay with us for a couple of seconds or minutes, because this is how the web works. Well, working with the Google Cultural Institute, it turned out that we found out what users found interesting, and this is what actually forced us, or was conducive for us, to describe the form and capacity that we also put to good use for purpose of other projects. Also, when working with such a technological partner as Google is, we can be absolutely certain that we are going to be focusing on the content and the message, and we do not have to think about the technological layer at all. We are absolutely certain that everything is going to be well matched to reflect our needs, and we can also learn from what we are being offered technology-wise. I do hope that the fruit of our cooperation can be viewed broadly. You can follow us online. You can also take a closer look at our exhibition next to the door, and I hope that all this will prove that cooperation has been excellent so far, and that it definitely helps us to proliferate knowledge, but also helps follow the missions of both institutions. We are an institution of culture, and so is the Google Institute. Thank you very much for that.